The original Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 1 is often considered to be one of the best games of all time, but many people would agree that the graphics are in need of a fresh coat of paint. So when Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, many people expect a simple graphical upgrade, but what we got instead was something far more ambitious. Let's get this out of the way. Final Fantasy VII Remake is not Final Fantasy VII. This isn't a one-to-one recreation, it's a complete reimagining. The structure, pacing, and even parts of the story have been reworked from the ground up. Honestly, I'd go as far as saying these are two entirely different games. And yet, if you're a fan of the original, there's a very good chance you'll still love this. In fact, I think Square Enix might have set a new gold standard for what a remake can be. This project is split into a trilogy, and today I'm only focusing on part number 1. I'll cover the rest in future videos. Now you might be wondering, if you've already played the original, does that ruin the experience? Surprisingly, no. Even as someone familiar with the story, I was constantly caught off guard. The remake isn't just retelling, it's reshaping expectations. You play as Cloud, a mercenary pulled into a conflict against Shinra, a massive corporation draining the planet's life force for energy. At the same time, Cloud is battling something much more personal: fragmented memories, hallucinations, and a haunting presence tied to Sephiroth. Cloud himself is awkward, painfully awkward, but in a way that feels real, and often unintentionally hilarious. The upgraded visuals do a fantastic job capturing those subtle pauses, expressions, and uncomfortable silences. The supporting cast is just as strong. Characters who were once side notes now feel fully fleshed out, with meaningful development and personality. This game is heavily cinematic, but these cinematics are very well done. There are moments in this story where it gets emotional in a genuine way, and many more scenes are packed with over-the-top dramatic action with beautiful choreography. The entire game takes place in Midgar, a massive industrial city, and the sense of scale is impressive. From the polished upper sectors to the gritty slums below, every area feels distinct and alive. I love it when environments tell a story without saying a word. Check out this animation of two people eating popcorn. That's an amazing amount of love put into something that people just walk by most of the time. Even the shop signs are carefully made. The voice acting and motion capture are superb. However, there are minor sections with much lower quality animation. In those scenes, the lip sync timing is still good, but the bottom lip moves like a jellyfish, and the eye and head movement are dead and stiff. If you're expecting long walls of text like classic RPGs, this isn't that. Dialogue here is more natural and conversational. The game prefers to show rather than tell, which works really well with a cinematic style. One of the boldest changes is the combat. The old turn-based ATB system is gone, or rather, evolved. What you get now is a hybrid of real-time action and strategic combat input. The ATB gauge still exists, filling over time and faster as you land hits. Once it's charged, you can pause the action to select abilities, spells, or items. But here's the twist. Choosing an ability doesn't guarantee it would hit. Timing and positioning matters. For example, Cloud's Buster skill has quite a long startup time, and enemies can move out of range before the attack happens. There's one button used to combo attacks, and another used for a character-specific move. This character-specific move is completely different in each character's case, and makes them unique to play. Cloud's character-specific move is that he can switch between Punisher and Operator stance. Punisher stance deals more damage and can counter-attack automatically on a successful guard, but Cloud moves extremely slowly and has a hard time catching flying enemies. And no, you can't just button mash your way through. If an enemy is guarding, your attacks will bounce off, and the enemy will counterattack. Some enemies punish aggressive play, forcing you to defend, wait for openings, and think strategically. You can guard with the right shoulder button and dodge with the right face button. Dodging does not grant you invincibility like in other action games. You also cannot easily cancel your normal attacks into a dodge or guard. Still, these defensive options are important for survival, as many bosses have attacks that will stagger you for a few seconds, like paralysis, sleep, or hold. This can cause your character to get knocked around without any breathing for healing. The best way to exploit an enemy is to fill their break gauge so that they are staggered, after which you are completely helpless for around 10 seconds and take extra damage. Simply attacking an enemy might not fill their break gauge, so sometimes you need to analyze an enemy to find their weakness. The iconic materia system returns, and is just as important as ever. Materia grants abilities, magic, and passive effects, and it levels up with use. Gear determines how many materia slots you have, so customization plays a huge role. Summons work a bit differently this time. On certain bosses, your summoning gauge will fill. Once it's full, you can summon a giant mythical creature to fight alongside you until the summoning bar runs out, after which they will perform a devastating attack and leave the battlefield. Many bosses are a cinematic treat. They often have multiple phases, with impressive transition cutscenes between phases, with their bodies becoming visibly more damaged as the fight goes on. The game runs under 40 hours, even with side content, but there's still plenty to do. Side quests aren't just filler, they often impact the world and story. You'll notice changes in dialogue and scenes depending on what you complete. One of my favorite side quests is finding hidden music discs. Sometime as you explore, the music will change, and you will see a question mark on the top left of the screen. This means a hidden music disc is nearby. If you find the disc, you get to play it in a jukebox. The music is a jazz oldie style remix of a Final Fantasy VII track, complete with a singles cover art. I absolutely love the music, including how the same music theme is remixed differently to suit the mood. The music experience culminates in one of the most dazzling dancing minigames I have seen. There's not a lot of random battles. Each battle location is prescribed with no loading screen. If you want to grind for experience and gil, you can walk back and forth between the sectors, and the enemies will respawn in connecting areas. Let's talk about performance on the PlayStation 4 Pro. The game targets 30 frames per second and managed to hold it quite steadily, even during intense fight and cutscenes. The PlayStation 4 Pro renders at an effective rate of up to 1620p, which is around half the pixel count of 4K. I am happy that the game does not suffer from the blurriness and the ghosting of most Unreal Engine games. If there is a complaint, it is that the textures can often load slowly, so that you see the low quality texture being swapped with the high quality texture after a few seconds. Playing this on an SSD like the PlayStation 5 should solve this. With a solid combination of technical prowess and artistic mastery, this game is probably the best looking PlayStation 4 Pro game I've ever played. Big thumbs up to the team. More importantly, it is a bold reimagining that respects the original while not being afraid to take risks. This is just the beginning of the trilogy, and if the next parts build on this foundation, we're in for something special. Dadozy Gaming gives Final Fantasy VII Remake a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming!